Our region has so much potential in the future. It can become whatever we envision it to be. I have with me two guests who are going to help us take a deeper look into the issues and possibilities facing our region in the future. My guests are Catherine Ross, Chair of the Center for Quality Growth and Regional Development at Georgia Tech, and Tom Weyandt, Director of Comprehensive Planning for the Atlanta Regional Commission. Thank you both for being here on The Shape of Things to Come. I appreciate your time. We have a lot of ground to cover as we look forward over the next 20, 30, 50, even 60 years. I'm going to begin with you, Catherine. Looking at community designs, what should we be looking for as we try to find the right models that will really provide the livable communities that we want decades down the road?
Well, first of all, we have to look for accommodating more people in the same amount of space. And that has tremendous design implications. I think we have to look forward to a more dense, in some instances in our urban areas particularly, more density than we've had. We have to worry a lot more about integrating the opportunity to engage in physical activities, so green infrastructure, parks, trails, more focus on pedestrian amenities, because a lot of what we do now over a very large space will have to do over a much more limited spatial footprint than we're used to.
And Tom, you had commented, knowing that we're going to get 2 to 3 million more people in the Atlanta region, that one size doesn't fit all. You can't just pick a simple model off the shelf, nor can we use what we've used in the past.
No, we can't, because the next 2 million people are going to be very different from the last 2 million people. And while we certainly have to use our land more efficiently, that has implications for our urban areas. But I would suggest that it's not just the dense urban areas. Even our small towns around the region are going to change as well. And some very good models that already exist in the region for revitalization of our urban communities.
Can you give me an example?
Well, there's some. We've had a program called the Livable Centers Initiative for several years now. And that's created communities like Swanee in northern Gwinnett County, which has really recreated a whole new downtown. With the kind of open space that you've talked about, as well as higher density mixed-use development. And it's at a scale that is more dense, but a scale that's appropriate to our small towns.
Do you think that in general you have the ear of elected officials, whether they be local or state?
I think so. I think many elected officials are very much aware of the changing trends that we have. I take, for example, the development of a recent event, and that was the development of the Transit Planning Board. For the first time in 40 years, since in fact MARTA was created, the principal elected officials have come together and decided we need to rethink the structure for transit in the region, how we're organized to do it, how we fund it. So I think on many of these key issues, elected officials really do understand the profound nature of the change we're facing.
Other than that, what should they be doing? I mean, if you had a wish list and you could present it to our state legislator right now, 2007, what would you ask them for? What should they be doing?
Well, I would certainly ask that they consider prioritizing rail as a part of our transportation investment decision, that be given resources and a good look, not only in terms of commuter rail, but asking the question, some of which Tom has put on the table, what are those other technologies, some of which are rail technologies that we ought to look at. Then I think education is really important, and that we really have to continue to push to improve the educational system we have in Georgia and in the Southeast.
To continue to make us look attractive.
Exactly right. Because the workers who we're trying to attract now demand efficient government services, good schools for their children, and the kind of places where literacy and the amount of literacy helps them in building their businesses.
If you can, what is probably the top 1 or 2 really major critical decisions that we need to make today to have the communities we want years from now?
Well, I think there's one that may not be obvious to people, and that has to do with water. Preservation of and better use of our existing water supply, and in time finding new water supplies is going to be very important. But more than anything, we're going to have to learn how to conserve our water a lot more effectively than we have in the past.
We hear the word tossed around among experts of these mega regions. Exactly. And Catherine, define a mega region, and how does that impact our potential growth in the future and our potential to really do a good job?
I think it's the most critically important spatial phenomenon we've experienced over the last 40 or 50 years. It refers to cities or a collection of cities that really began to merge into one entity. So I give you Charlotte, Atlanta, Raleigh, Birmingham as a corridor of cities, and when you incorporate the areas around them, you have a mega region. Typically it has 10 million plus people, but it begins to be connected by transportation, employment opportunities, a common socio-cultural set of preferences, and more importantly, it is the most significant footprint in the global economy.
If you were to dream big, what would Atlanta look like in 2030?
Well, I think Atlanta would be a city that is providing choices for people, providing choices in the kinds of housing that they have available throughout this region. So you don't have to sort of drive until you qualify, which is the phrase that's used now. So I think it's very important that the future, in whatever form it takes, be a future that is opening up choices for the people who live here and those who are going to come here.
Do you share his big dream? Just some
I
other
do,
thoughts?
and I guess I'd add that I'd like to get up and be able to go to work and decide I was going to get on a bus and be able to drive, or get on a bus or get on rail, and do it all in a time that made sense for me in terms of what my day was like, to have those kinds of options in front of me.
And with that, I have to say thank you to both of you,
Good.
Tom Weyandt and
Thank
Catherine
you.
Ross. I appreciate your time on the shape of things to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this special Regional Planning 60th Anniversary show. To find out more about the Atlanta Regional Commission and how you can become involved in the planning in the next 60 years for Metro Atlanta, please visit ARC's website at www.atlantaregional.com. Thank you for joining me for the Shape of Things to Come.